Welcome to The Explainer. We're jumping right into it today, looking at the really high-stakes tension building between the White House and Tehran. This is a situation that is absolutely teetering on a knife's edge. One wrong move could mean diplomacy is out and open conflict is in.
So let's just get right into this quote, because what we're hearing from new reports is that there's this dramatic internal struggle happening at the very highest levels of power. You've got the president who wants action, pitted directly against his top military advisors who are, well, they're sounding some pretty stark warnings.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this all down. We've got 5 parts. First, we'll look at the president's frustration. Then, how his top general is pushing back. After that, we'll see the warships literally on the move. Fourth, we'll touch on the diplomacy that's under threat. And finally, we'll get to the big unanswered question at the center of all this.
Okay, first up, the president's frustration. So at the heart of all this seems to be the president's mindset. He's reportedly, well, he's annoyed. He's looking for military options that can give him a fast, clean victory, and he's just not getting them from his team.
And this right here really lays out the core disagreement, doesn't it? On one side, you have the president's goal, a quick, decisive outcome. Get in, get it done. But on the other side, his advisors are warning him, saying, hold on, that's not how this works. They're saying any strike, even a so-called limited one, isn't the end of the story. It's just the opening move in what could be a really long, really messy campaign.
So who's leading the charge on this cautionary advice? Well, that brings us to the general who's pushing back. General Dan Caine, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
And from what we're reading in multiple reports, General Caine apparently laid it all out for the president, point by point. He's talking about a severe depletion of our best weapons, literally burning through our munitions. And that's a huge deal, because it could hurt our ability to deal with a potential future conflict with China. Plus, he's warning this could easily become a prolonged war, with no clear or easy exit strategy. That's a nightmare scenario for any military leader.
But of course, after these detailed warnings started leaking to the press, the White House went into damage control. They're trying to project this image of total unity. In fact, the president himself has come out and publicly denied any kind of split, blaming it all on fake news and saying the media is twisting his advisors' words.
So, you've got this intense debate happening behind closed doors in Washington. But while they're talking, the pieces on the global chessboard are already moving. Out on the world stage, the military buildup is very real, and it's creating a very visible show of force. Over the last few weeks, the U.S. has really beefed up its military footprint in the Middle East. And we're not talking about a minor adjustment here. No, this is a major repositioning of some serious hardware. More ships, more aircraft, more missile defenses. And to give you an idea of the scale we're talking about, look at this. The USS Gerald R, America's largest and most advanced warship, is now deployed closer to Iran. Moving an asset like that, well, that sends a powerful, and unmistakable, message.
And it's not all about offense either. A big part of this is defense. They're reinforcing air defense systems like Patriot and THAAD at bases across the region. The goal there? To protect American troops and infrastructure that are already on the ground from any potential Iranian missile or drone attacks.
Now, the official line from the Pentagon, they're saying all of this is defensive. They're insisting these deployments are all about deterrence, basically to prevent a war, not to start one. The idea is to show Iran what could happen if they decide to escalate.
But here's the thing. At the very same time all these forces are mobilizing, there is still a diplomatic track. It's fragile, for sure, and it's under enormous pressure from this military buildup, and frankly from Iran's own actions.
And this is a huge part of the pressure. Iran is now enriching uranium all the way up to 60%. To put that in perspective, that is way beyond what you'd ever need for civilian nuclear power. It puts them alarmingly close to having weapons-grade material.
And this is what's really elevating the urgency for everybody. Reports are suggesting that Iran is now, and get this, probably a week away from having what it needs to make a bomb. A timeline of just 1 week? That just shrinks the window for diplomacy down to almost nothing and raises the stakes for this entire crisis through the roof.
Just look at how fast everything is moving. You've got reports of the president's frustration surfacing around February 22nd. Then, boom, the very next day, the USS Gerald R arrives in the Med. And then, just a couple of days later, you've got this crucial third round of nuclear talks scheduled in Geneva. It's all happening at once.
And trying to figure out Iran's position in all this is confusing, to say the least. They're sending these deeply conflicting signals. You've got the threat on one hand. We will not negotiate under military threat and will strike back. But then you have the offer on the other.
hey, we're putting new concessions on the table to avoid a war. So which is it?
And all of this brings us full circle, right back to the White House. And it brings us to this central question, this mystery that is reportedly puzzling the president himself. And it might be the key to understanding his whole approach to this crisis.
Yeah, according to a special envoy, Steve Witt, the president is genuinely surprised that all this pressure, all the military muscle, all the economic sanctions, hasn't forced Iran to just give up. The envoy's exact words were that the president is curious as to why they haven't capitulated. He just doesn't get why they haven't caved.
And so that really is the unanswered question, isn't it? In this game of high-stakes pressure, who blinks first? You have a president who seems to expect capitulation, and you have a regime in Iran that is refusing to break. It's a dangerous standoff, and the cost of one side miscalculating, well, it could be absolutely catastrophic.